Hi everyone, welcome to my tech demo for this week. Today I'll be showcasing a site called mentimeter.com. I personally used it both in my first practicum in a grade 12 business class and my most recent practicum in a grade 10 history class. So I found it was useful for all ages and also different subject matters. So hopefully after learning about it today, you'll also find the same for your own subjects. So I'm going to share my screen so we can see what this is. Okay. So this is what a Mentimeter looks like. So basically what it is, it's an online tool that lets students participate in a variety of activities, which we'll go through, to support the lesson and ultimately making more interactive. So for all the activities I'm going to show you today, students are able to either scan a QR code or like put in a sort of code, and it'll show the activity that the teacher is presenting, whatever it is, will show up on the students' devices, and they'll be able to respond to whatever the question is or the activity being prompted, and it will then populate on the screen of the classroom. So basically, it's a way for students to participate, have their opinions, thoughts sort of entered into a shared screen for everyone to see on the board without necessarily having to talk about their points out loud. They can, of course, add to it, but ultimately they can just add it into their phone or into their laptops, and they'll see their participation populated on the screen behind them, which can really help generate class discussion or further learning, things like that. As I said, it's found online at mentimeter.com. It can be used on anything like MacBooks, HP devices, anything like that. And yeah, there's different plans, but the one that I'm showing you today is the free option. So you'll see that it's very robust for a free website. So different features that it offers are things like word clouds, right? So students would answer questions or think of words that they associate with maybe the lesson you're talking about that day, and it'll create a word cloud on the board. Also polls, open-ended questions, scales, rankings, pins on images, things like that, which we'll talk more about in the how-to video coming up next. For people that don't know necessarily how to use this, there's also get to know Mentimeter. So that's down here where it says how to create your first Menti, how to present, all things like that. All the technical kind of questions you might have are all in here to be answered for you. Also, you'll see that you can also showcase or see for yourself the different presentations that you've created in the past. So these are examples that I've created, and you're able to see it for yourself here in a sort of my presentations library. So that's really great. Just going to head back to the home page, and now I'm going to explain sort of the pedagogical value to this. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. So in terms of privacy, when the user, so as us teachers, when we create our account, it does prompt us to either accept or reject cookies. It also provides a link to explain more about these cookies. But the participants themselves, so the students who are simply just participating in the activities, they aren't required to make accounts. So these sort of messages don't come up for them. As you can see here on their website, I went in to look more about these cookies, and it says basically the typical verbiage we hear about cookies, that the purpose is to create a more personalized experience for the users by providing marketing campaigns relevant for the users. So you're able to accept, reject, or manage the cookies when you sign up for this. So that's sort of things to know about the privacy, but the students themselves, the participants, rather than the users, they are not required to create accounts. In terms of pedagogical value, outlined in The Silent Epidemic Finds Its Voice by Hallquist and al., strategies to encourage student participation or engagement include using things like technology, promoting student autonomy, and engaging in effective questioning. So I find that this site is really helpful for engaging in effective questioning, using technology, of course, but also promoting student autonomy, because not only is it a fun way to kind of get students involved, but also it reaches out to those students that maybe have something to say and want to have their thoughts and like voices heard, but they may not be comfortable putting their hands up when the teacher asks them a question, or sharing their ideas in front of the class. So this helps them get those thoughts out onto the board without necessarily having to speak up and maybe feel uncomfortable about that. It's also great for teachers because oftentimes we might ask a question and we kind of hit that crickets moment in terms of participation. So this is really great for getting students to participate without having to reach out and put up their hands. Finally, in terms of accessibility, this can be used on any device, and it's also free for participants, for students. So that is all about what this is, and I'll go into more of how to actually use it in the next video.